spent some time at dinner last night, and then we had about a 2.5, 3-hour meeting this morning. And we had a chance to hear a little bit about who we are and learn a little bit about the great stuff that we're doing here. And you should all be proud of that, but at the same point, there's so much more, and there's so much more potential, and there's so much more we have to change, and so much more opportunity. So we'll get a chance to invent, and I'm going to introduce John and let him talk a little bit about that, and also encourage you to ask any questions you've got. Don't leave here saying, I wish I would have asked this. We also have John Cooper, our Vice President of Content with Journal-Register Company, and now MediaNews Group, and you all know Sarah, and that's not a bad thing. Without any further ado, I'll introduce John.
Just one thing, Cooper is not the VP of Content at MediaNews Group, but I'm sure he's going to want to raise later. Before that. He's large and he eats a lot like me, so thank you for taking some time out of your day to meet with me. It's a bit of a whirlwind tour, as you can imagine, to try to get around what's now 880 products in 18 states, this company that we put together to get this done. And there's some difficulty in doing that, but there's also a lot of opportunity in doing that, because going forward, media companies are going to need scale. They're not consolidating to try to make more money, they're consolidating to try to make money. As you know, I mean, I don't have to remind you of the challenges you face, and I don't want to dwell on it very much at all, other than say, you know, the obvious. Newspaper revenue is down almost 60% since 2007 across the country, and that's true for just about here and any other place in any other newspaper town you go to. And of course, you know how you dealt with that. I'm probably looking at a lot of empty desks back here or different places. You kept consolidating to every smaller space because your colleagues are no longer here. And people think we can't turn that corner. Well, they're wrong. We can't change that corner. The experience we've had at the Journal-Register Company is a good example of how that can get done. It's going to be an example that we're going to use here under this umbrella of the Digital First Media Company, because what we do is vitally important. This isn't just about putting out products and then getting an audience and then selling that audience to advertisers. It's about journalism. It's about serving the communities where we live. There's no community I know of that is vibrant or is going through some kind of transformation from perhaps what used to be a vibrant mill town to something less than that, to whatever it is today and wherever it's going to go tomorrow, without a professional journalistic community inside that community helping the community set the agenda for what's important, to discuss what's happening, and then try to come collectively together with some solutions about what we ought to do. Journalism has always played that role, and in particular in the past, newspapers have been the very best at that. Newspapers can become news companies and continue that role, and if we do that very well, then we're going to have a success. We just have to figure out now how to make that all happen on different platforms and the different business models that go with that. And that's the difficult part, but it's not the impossible part. So here's some of the myths that you always hear. One is that print dollars are becoming digital dimes. Everybody heard this? So we're supposed to just fold up our tents and go home. And I know this must be true because two guys got up in the morning, put on their pajamas maybe, tweeted to each other that newspapers are dead and we're supposed to go back to sleep. Newsrooms cannot be paid for by digital dimes. That can't happen. But the newsroom that I'm in now cannot be supported by digital revenue, which is another thing that you hear all the time. We can create an ever bigger audience. So Journal-Register Company, in 2010, February 1, 2010, which was my first day in the job, there were 5.5 million uniques across the company and 8.5 million print customers across the company. That was the audience. Digital First goes into action on end of June, early July, from a content perspective. In 2010, and as I sit here today, that total audience, which was 14, is now 21.5 million. The idea that it might be about 23 million by the end of the year. There's still 8.5 million print customers. The 5.5 has become something approaching 14 million on uniques. By simply thinking about the company as digital first, in some cases print last. because print's where it comes last in the cycle. And if you knew that audience was, for the very first time in history, so fragmented on various platforms, but all wanting to go to, say, a LowellSun.com platform, why wouldn't you want to work with those platforms and have a wider audience for your work? It's difficult to think about adding new people for every platform that you add. I don't know where we're going to stop with that with platforms. So it's important that we understand that multitasking is something we have to do. More importantly, it's important that we understand how to use the tools themselves. I mean, if you don't have a protocol that says it starts with an SMS alert, which is linked to maybe that first paragraph with a bit.ly link in it, which is linked to that very first paragraph on a website that you have, that in turn, that website is, small screen enabled so it can be viewed from a mobile site, that in turn you use social media, which means you have to build up a social media following to be able to do that, and then push that out to your social media followers, whether it's yours as a columnist or the newspapers, and combined, hopefully, so that you're telling people, hey, what's happening over here is important, and then watching that develop, adding 2 and 3 paragraphs, etc., video, audio, those kind of components, and repeating that virtuous circle all through the publishing day. I mean, right now, we're about to enter, it's coming up on 11 o'clock, we're about to enter into one of your peak times in most newspaper companies, as people go to the lunch hour, start checking from their workplaces, things of interest to them. And you're going to produce a paper for tonight only, when you have very little audience for tomorrow morning delivery. And so the last thing you do is the paper. One of the key experiences online, of course, is video. So there's 1,000 journalists, and you get off the stage and you think, well, I'm going to have to go buy 1,000 flip cams. So I did. And I think if I can use that as an concrete example of making that commitment and then keeping it. Fortunate part of JRC, which was so broken at the time, I then had to go buy about 500 laptops that could edit the video. That one familiar for you? Or asking you to file from the field, and how many laptops do you have that can file from the field? I think the number is de minimis here. So yeah, we're going to have to get the tools. To get the tools, we're going to have a business plan that says we can grow revenue. And you don't right now. This is not a reflection on Mark or anybody here. That's the industry. TRC, we actually have we found a way to grow the appropriate revenue, the one that's growing. Nothing you can do about shrinking revenue. And overall that will mean less revenue, but with the right expense resources, we're seeing a broken company at TRC go from bankrupt to about $45 million in what's called EBITDA, operating profit, in a year, and it's on a path to grow this year over last year as well. Because you're going to have to be platform preference, I have no fears at all that if you have the right size digital audience and you have the right effort in creating digital products and digital sales behind them, if it was best to have 3 days a week or 4 days a week in print, then why not do that? If you already have a much bigger audience. I mean, Torrington hasn't done that, to just use that one single example. But they are so close to the point where the print piece could easily be a different frequency if that's what they chose to do. I would listen to the publisher there. So far, they don't want to do that because they think there's a good business model to do what they're doing. But I wouldn't reduce frequency to save costs if that's what you're asking. Or reduce frequency to put the money back into growing the top line.
Can you talk about online commenting and different ways to maybe police that?
Yeah, it's a gladiator academy, isn't it?
We had a situation here. Yeah. There's certain comment.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
There's like every community, somewhere there are 20 people, almost always men. As opposed to women who dominate those boards, and it's giving them a forum that speaks to the First Amendment and is repulsive to work their way through. I don't have a bulletproof answer on this. We're experimenting with different things. I think registration is probably not the way to go, because again, I don't want to put a barrier between the growth that you need for audience. But we're going to have to find a tool, and we're experimenting with Cooper at the back here can take some people through. We're experimenting with different things about how to monitor better, edit better, if you will. There are some legal issues, as you know. If you decide to edit and monitor, you can also be considered liable. And considering the nature of how vile some of these comments can be, associating with them can be a difficult thing.
Do you republish any of those comments back to the print product in any way?
depending on stories that are developed, you know, I'm assuming that they're going to pick up on some of these comments. You know, I can't give you a concrete example in this moment. My concern about commenting is the nature of them at this point, and how do we want to police them, or do we want to police them all? One school of thought says don't police them. That's the nature of the net. The web rather. You know, the skill testing questions, the difference between the web and the net. You know, if there's no fourth estate, there's no First Amendment. There's no point in having a First Amendment without a vibrant fourth estate. And you can call it the press, no matter what the platform is. And I kind of like the idea of continuing to use the term press to mean that media that's concentrated on journalism in particular. These are going to be awfully tough times to make this transformation. There's no industry that transformed from what it was to what it's going to be. The auto industry, for example, if you live in Michigan, this is, you know, an economic nightmare, this transformation. But whatever it's going to become, and to have a vibrant future, much like journalism, I want to make sure that we go through that process. I can best do that if I hear from you. If I don't hear from you, you're going to end up with my ideas without any filtering. That's not a good place to be, because I don't live here and you do. And whatever decisions are made out of Manhattan where I live, or Denver where one of the offices I use is, it's not going to be the sole source of solutions. It has to come from you as well. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I'm out of here before lunch, which is pretty good to do. So thank you.
Sarah,